We are nothing more than a product of our environment. You can't really blame people. Take it to Patty Hearst, take it to these 4 hostages in the bank, take it to yourself, take it to folks that you've known. They call it Stockholm Syndrome. It's not really a syndrome because the syndrome is talking about some sort of disorder or symptoms related to a disorder. But the fact of the matter is, anytime you find yourself in a situation where you can't overpower the captor, you can't run away from the captor, we just have a way to survive, adapt or die. And I can't overpower him, I can't run away from him. So as a coping mechanism, I will begin to see them in a positive light, since I can't go nowhere anyway. But can you see how this can happen even on a soul, on an eternal level? I know I'm talking to some folks who understand. Yes, here we are. I showed up. I'm a black man in America. I'm a certain age. I'm a certain this. I'm a certain that. And here I am. But have you ever in your meditation, in your revelation, come to a place where you remember how much more you are than this demographic phenomenon? Don't you know that one of the tenets of religious science and the teachings is immortality? Meaning that I haven't always been Seth, but I have always been. And so on some level, I don't remember all of it, but as it's kind of coming back to me in bits and pieces, it seems to me that there was some sort of set of agreements that I made before I became Seth. There were things to accomplish. There were reasons why I came here. There were understandings. There were people that I knew I was supposed to meet. There were things that to Seth seem inconvenient or painful or unfair, but to I am, before I was Seth, I knew it was all part of the journey. Yet, here I get here, and now I see, man, this place really ain't all that. I'm kind of captive here. I'm kind of stuck here. I will never not be a black man in America. I will never. So then, it's not so bad here. I mean, I've dealt with racism. I've dealt with every sort of discrimination I could face, but I guess that's just how it is. They don't mean any harm by it. Can you see that I'll just speak for myself, fallen victim to a type of spiritual Stockholm syndrome? Captured here on earth, stuck. I read books, I talk to guidance folks, I do this, and we're talking about I am the divine, of all things are possible, of here we are, and healing is everything, and there's nothing that we can't do because there is no spot where God is not. Meanwhile, feet hurt, bank account hurt, heart hurt. It's okay though. So what am I talking about? Yeah, okay, he talked about spiritual Stockholm syndrome. He talked about you are always greater than your circumstances. However old this planet is, they said 6 billion years, you are older than the planet. So you are, but yet you think you're smaller and subjective to the laws of gravity, the laws of aging, the laws of finance, but you're older than your context. I'm an eternal soul, all things are possible. But yet now I got here and I've been here for a while, and enough folks said, you can't do that. Until I said, well, I guess I can't do that, but that's okay. Everyone who told me I can't do that, they really know what's best for me and they mean well. That's fine. Matter of fact, I'm gonna bake them a cake. The same person that told me I could not accomplish the truth that I thought I heard God speak and whisper in my soul, but they convinced me that it wasn't gonna ever happen, I'm gonna bake them a cake for their birthday. Landed here now, it would seem that the longer you've been around, the more wisdom you gain, yet you found yourself landed in a society that just kind of throws older people away. So since society throws older people away, I guess as I get older and gain more wisdom, I guess I have less value. Why? Because Madison Avenue said so. Madison Avenue, that's the marketing machine. The whole thing is based in spiritual Stockholm syndrome. How do they advertise anything? Are you tired of weeds in your lawn? Are you tired of crow's feet around your eyes? Are you tired of, you want to cook healthy, but you don't have enough time? And you go, yeah, that's right. So they tell you what the problem is. Do you wish you could eat healthier, but just don't have time? Yes. And they say, well, you need to buy Stupid Bites. And then by the time the commercial's over, you get up and you go, I'm gonna run to the store right quick. Give me some Stupid Bites. Oh, right, that's even better, yeah. But Prime Day is coming up. So I could have Stupid Bites. They said if I order by 11:59, I could be eating Stupid Bites tonight. Yeah, yeah, right. And then buy two, get one free, yeah. I actually saved $50 by spending $200 on Stupid Bites. And then am I the only one who's bought Stupid Bites before? And then when you buy them and you eat them, guess what they don't do? Solve the problem that you thought they would solve. So you say, well, that didn't work. And then you turn on the TV, the social media, whatever. Are you upset with Stupid Bites? We got a class action lawsuit going on. Like, man, let me get on that, because then I'm going to get paid, then I'm going to feel good. Then you get a check for $9. Taxable. Okay, so we're stuck in spiritual Stockholm syndrome. We are eternal beings of light that transcend the laws of physics, the rules of white supremacy, the phenomenons of earth, time, and space, yet we don't fully realize it. The relevant question comes up, how can we get where we really need to get to? From a state of spiritual Stockholm syndrome, from being trapped in the safe, like the folks in Stockholm, or from being brainwashed by the Symbionese Liberation Army like Patty Hearst. So they had William Randolph Hearst's granddaughter talking about my name, Tanya. And as they're dragging away and arresting the folks, now she went to jail too, but then Jimmy Carter commuted her sentence, all that, right? That's a whole nother story, right? Okay, well then, how can we break this cycle? Jesus said in this scripture, wisdom is proved right by all of her actions. I'm finding the further I go, about 2 years ago, I used to think I knew what the purpose of my life was. And I used to think it was to, tell somebody this truth of the truth of who God is and what we're really capable of and how it's possible. And I'm here to tell all y'all about it and make sure somebody knows the truth of who you are and divine. And about 2 years ago, I said, nah, that's not my purpose anymore. My purpose is to convince me of the truth of who I am. And now if I can really live that, maybe you'll catch on, maybe you won't. But if I really think it's all about trying to drag y'all along and I'm not satisfied until you get totally enlightened, I'm in trouble. So you can't just convince folks of this truth. You can't just walk up to somebody and say, you're a victim of Stockholm Syndrome, right? By definition, they'll say, no, I'm not. This is different. Or they'll give you any sort of reason why. That's not the case. This is what Jesus was getting at in the scripture when he says, what can I compare this generation to? Now, that was his generation. This is our generation, but okay, it resonates here. He says, look, it's like your kids sitting in the marketplace and saying, I played the pipe for you, but you didn't dance. I sang a dirge, but you didn't mourn. In other words, I told you if I played the pipe, I would expect folks to get up and dance. If I preached the gospel, I would expect folks to have a breakthrough in a revelation. If I just tell you the truth of what I'm seeing, you're stuck in Stockholm Syndrome, you would think someone would say, hey, you're right, and wake up. I played a pipe for you, you didn't dance. I sung a dirge for you, you didn't mourn. And it doesn't, this is just how it is. Even Jesus dealt with this. He said, look, the message is this. I and the Father are one. You're in the Father. God is love. Ask God for anything and he'll do it. All things are possible. Everything you saw me do, you can also do. That sounds like a pretty good deal. What did he get for his troubles? Folks were stuck in what they were stuck in. And it didn't matter how he came. He said, look, when John came with this message, John the Baptist, he didn't drink. He didn't put a razor to his head. He wasn't eating meat. He was what you might call a religiously austere, serious type of person, trying to tell you that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And they looked at him with the camel hair coat, eating locusts, and they said, oh, he has a demon. Because he was too austere with it. So Jesus said, look, I'm going to hang with the prostitutes. He said, the Son of Man, John came neither eating nor drinking, and they said he has a demon. He said, I came eating and drinking. I came turning water into wine at the wedding. I came talking to the woman at the well when you weren't supposed to. So since John came super austere and y'all didn't listen to that, I came and told you, hey, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Get out of Stockholm Syndrome. And they still didn't hear it. They said, nah, you a friend of sinners. So when John did it, you're not in touch enough, John, with the common people. Then when Jesus came, see, you too common with the common people. Same message. You cannot convince anyone else about their Stockholm Syndrome. You will do well to convince yourself. See, Patty Hearst fell for it, and it came out in a few ways in that story. Stockholm Syndrome, that bank robbery, 1973 in Sweden. When the robbers, they had a whole plan. The first thing they did when they came in. Now remember, think about 1973. You couldn't just Google the news. You couldn't, right? So the bank robber comes in. Yeah, he's got on sunglasses and a wig, and he is pointing a machine gun. But the first thing he says is, "Now the party starts." And he put a transistor radio down and turned it to the rock and roll station. The 4 hostages three of them were in their 20s and one of them was 31 years old. So the first thing he says is, "Now the party starts." Puts the radio, turns on the rock and roll station. If 20-year-olds like that, that's exactly what they probably would have been listening to anyway. So now they kind of, they don't realize they got a machine gun pointed at their head. But a man in a wig and sunglasses just said, "Hey, now the party starts," and turned on the music. I'm just trying to say Patty Hearst fell for the song and dance. Or these folks in Stockholm, particularly, fell for the song and dance. So it will sound great, but it's to convince myself, to awaken myself, to shake myself out of a third dimensional cage that I find myself in. And the captors, don't get me started on the captors I talked about Madison Avenue. I talked about the legal system. I talked about, bought a car a month ago, bless the Lord. But when I walked in the bank and said, "I want a car," they told me how much car I could get. And I didn't say, "The hell wrong with y'all talking about how much car I can get?" I said, "Yes, sir. Well, the credit's decent. Yes, sir. Please let me get a car." And then when they said, "Well, you can get X amount," I said, "Thank you. Thank you, sir." And then I ran to the dealership. And then they said, "Well, interest rates are high." And I said, "That's all right." Can you see? Versus, I'm throwing my own immortality out the window. And I'm not saying don't have a car. I'm not saying don't have stuff. But let's watch it. Let's be aware of what's going on. Don't fall for the song and dance. Here's another thing that happened in Stockholm. The 2 robbers locked them in the safe. 4 hostages, 2 robbers, locked in the safe. At one point, the police started drilling down from the roof to get into the safe because they knew tear gas was going to be the answer. We drop enough tear gas in there, they'll bust out of the safe and we can apprehend the suspects, right? They start drilling a hole in the roof of the safe. The crooks, the bank robbers, had just enough material to make a small explosion. And when the police, and it was just a small explosion, it wouldn't hurt anybody, wouldn't kill anybody, but they put it right up by the hole. And when they made that explosion, the police went, "Ah!" and they backed away. And then they backed away for 2 more days and didn't come back. It wasn't even a powerful enough explosion to stop their plan to bring everybody to justice, but they thought it was. So don't get knocked off course by a small distraction. The promise is made. You hear it in your soul. You feel it in your spirit. You know it in your heart of what is true and what is possible and what can and must happen according to eternal agreements that you have made. But any little small explosion, any little small diversion, any little small derailment, oh well, so much for that idea. Don't fall for the song and dance. Don't get knocked off by a small distraction. So then, small explosion, boom, the cops get knocked off. They got explosives in there. They ain't have nothing but some Cracker Jacks. That is how the great deception is played out. The great deception that you are less than divine, that your capability is less than, that your ability is less than, that your looks are less than. It's a lie. Then, so once the cops got it back together and came back a couple days later, they got another drilled a hole. This time they were able to drill a hole in the roof because they didn't have any more explosives anyway. They drill a hole in the roof. Now they see a hole in the roof and the police say, everybody freeze. And the crooks brought nooses with them. They thought about all this. They put nooses around all 4 of the hostages' necks. And they yelled to the police, if y'all drop that tear gas in here, all 4 of these people are gonna die. Never mind, they were just nooses. They didn't have anywhere to hang them, and they probably didn't have the guts to really hang 4 people anyway, and then sit there looking at them in a locked vault anyway. But as soon as the police see the nooses, oh man, they got nooses. They gonna kill folks. Jesus said, don't be afraid of him that can kill the body. Because I'm not the body, I'm an eternal. Don't you know? You must be spilled out at some point. Certain things gonna happen. You eat some food, it's gonna go the way it goes. And Jesus said, you eat it, it comes out the other side. I'll leave it right there. Somebody said, I only got to do 2 things, stay black and die. But guess what? The latter is coming too. So since it's coming and I don't know when, but I know that it is coming, why would I sell it short? For the sake of what? For the sake of keeping the captors happy. I can only speak for myself. I'm working on not being afraid of this entire context that we find ourselves in, recognizing, wait a second, I might be a victim of abuse. I may have been allowing myself to be abused, and not hating the abusers, because guess what? That happens in cycles. Not to drudge up too much garbage, but maybe you knew somebody, they were beat by their parents, and then when they got to talk to the parents, they found out the parents got it worse. Take it to the period of enslavement. Beaten, families separated. We'll give you a week off between Christmas and New Year's and all the rum you can drink. Thank you, thank you. To the point now, Massa on his deathbed, wrenching and racked with pain and death because he's dying the way he lived. And now here comes enslaved. See, they call it Stockholm, that's Europe, but really it goes back further than that, doesn't it? Because now, what's wrong, Massa? We sick? I don't knock that person for the context that they lived in, for the choices they made to survive. I don't knock Patty Hearst for the process of brainwashing that she underwent. I don't knock anyone for decisions that we make to survive. And there's a chance to tap into something so much greater. Not even tap in. There's a chance to be, because the something greater is the fullness of me. A chance to be just right where you are in prayer and meditation. We got it all. We got, okay. We got it all. We got hair thinning, weight gaining. This is just me. What are we gonna do about this? I can't make the boss mad because then what about this? But there's an opportunity to tap into, make yourself aware of the fullness of who you must be across eternity. Step out of this context, step out of your age demographic, your racial profile, your socioeconomic status. Point consciousness toward who you must be. Before you were born, before you were knit in your mother's womb, I knew you. I want to know that guy. The intentions, the longer term goals, dreams, plans, destinies of the deepest truth of who I am. The longer I sit with that, I can become aware of ways I've fallen victim to so-called Stockholm syndrome, which in psychological circles is called capture bonding. Bonding with my captors. The good news of Christ, which has come through so many, through the ages. I've come that you might have life, and that you have life more abundantly. Beyond the vault that you're locked in. They're locked in the vault and can't take $1 with them. I can't tell you about yourself, but there is a fullness. And like Brother Lawrence Fishburne ended school days, please wake up.